You've landed inside the bubble with Harli G, a podcast for the superwoman. I am a mother, wife, and ambitious career woman who realized one day that part of me was unfulfilled. I launched this platform to help other women discover and walk in their ultimate purpose through shared stories of trials, fear, dreams, courage, grief, and triumph. No matter who you are or where you're from, there's purpose in your story. Insiders, Inside the Bubble with Harli G is sponsored by BetterHelp. As a partner of this episode, listeners can access the BetterHelp link located in the show notes to receive 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help. Therapy has been such an integral part of my purpose journey, and I'm sure it will benefit your journey as well. Go to BetterHelp, that is betterhelp.com/inside-the-bubble to get started. This episode is also brought to you by Farmers Insurance. When was the last time you reviewed your insurance policy? Like who does that? Or when was the last time you could call your insurance agent directly with an emergency? Well, I was actually able to do that. 2 years ago, my garage caught on fire, and I was able to pick up the phone and talk to the one and only Austin Brummett on the phone immediately. There's nothing like peace of mind knowing that you are talking directly to the agent. So my friends at the Austin Brummett agency would love to hear from you and provide you with the same amazing service that they provided me. Give them a call at 678-402-8262 or email them at abrummett@farmersagent.com. Lastly, are you thinking about buying a car but dreading the process? I will tell you that's why I have a husband, so he can handle all of that. But Car Official is changing the game. Car Official believes the car buying process should be transparent, informative, and even, wait for it, enjoyable. Their experts are here to guide you, provide you with clear information and honest advice. No fancy jargon, no pressure, just a helping hand every step of the way. Whether it's understanding your financing options, getting clarity on fees, or simply finding the perfect car for your needs, they've got you covered. Visit them today and see the difference for yourself at 770-627-4296 or at www.carofficial.net. Insiders, I hope that you have enjoyed this season 3 of Inside the Bubble with Harli G. I just wanted to close out this season by just speaking about my testimony and my journey while this season was out. So the first episode, I kind of went into and discussed, and if you have not listened to it, by the way, you definitely should. But I kicked off the season by talking about just my journey leading up to season 3. And little did I know, even when I was at that point, I just kind of I believed that, oh, I've made it. We're here. It's season 3. So, okay, I have arrived. And I've always said that purpose isn't a destination, it's a journey, right? But I think I just thought, hey, I made it through season 3, that's it. And that's kind of where that journey kind of ends. And, and in a way, I think what I meant to say was that maybe that was the end of that chapter. The journey continues, and now it's the beginning of another chapter. And so little did I know that the journey or the next chapter was continuing, of course. But what I really, as I thought about this season and the guests that have come on, and how my journey just kept, uh, it just kept evolving, I guess I want to say. When I went into the season, I just thought, hey, I've made it here, and this part, I guess, it's kind of, I've overcome it, and so we're good. We're here. We're in season 3. I'm walking in my purpose. Everything's good. I was able to get the season out, and okay, I'm kind of done with that. And what I need to say is that that was only like, that was the beginning of that journey. And as I listen to, it's one thing when you are in the middle of it and you're recording these episodes and you're talking to the guest. It's, for me, it's a little bit different when I go back and I listen to the full episode, and um how different the impacts seem to be when I listen back to the episode as a listener. And now I'm able to truly listen to the testimonies. I'm really able to witness them just like a listener versus the person that's interviewing them, the guest, while we're recording the episode. So each guest just brought something, some word, some message that at that point, while I was walking along this journey of purpose, was kind of like perfect timing. It was exactly what the message that I needed to hear, that I needed to learn, the growth that needed to take place for me at this point in time in my journey. uh when the season started, I see the first guest was Megan, and Megan talked about um how she, what led her up to, the birth of her son, and the challenges and the trials that she went through at that time, and what, and how that transcended her faith, right? And as I was listening to that episode when it dropped, one of the things that I pulled from her was that she, while she was in the hospital with her son and while he was in NICU, she she would not speak to anyone. Her day had to get started a certain way. Now, I've always said, and I always talked about how I start my day. So I wake up and I get dressed, and then I sit down and I meditate, pray, and then I head on over to the gym. And while I do that, and that's in essence the first thing that I do, that's how I start my day. When Megan talked about her experience with how she shifted into her faith at that particular season of her life, it had me thinking about my faith and how I was in a current shift, whether I knew it or not, but I was going through a shift in my faith. And that shift for me was having blind faith. And while while I was beginning to understand what that meant, I wasn't quite there yet, right? I was just at the beginning of that journey of having blind faith. And for me, I've had several times I've had to kind of pause in the middle of this past 6 months, this journey, this season. And I've had to think about, okay, what is God trying to teach me here? And let me rewind it back and say this. At the while this was happening, while this was unfolding, this part of the season of my life, the question that I was asking God was why? Why is this happening to me? Why did it happen this way? Why am I here? Why? So the question that I was asking was why. And I was also praying out of desperation. So I want you to hold on to those two key points that I just made, because I am going to get back to it. So I'm sitting here and I am, I know that God is working through me to ask me and tell me that I need to have blind faith in Him. And what's happening is, it's like, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have faith and I'm able to deploy this season three. And for me, it kind of checks the mark, because I'm like, okay, I had blind faith. My circumstances did not go and my plans did not go as planned. But besides all of that, I was able to get season three out. So clearly, I must have blind faith, right? And little do I know, somebody recently reminded me of this saying: you want to see God laugh? Tell him your plans. Okay, well, there you have it. So I know he had a huge cackle at me saying that. But I was at a point where that blind faith meant so much more than what I thought it did, right? So I'm sitting here looking at my circumstances. I'm trying to get a business going. I'm trying to build my business. I am deploying this season three of the pod. I'm doing all of these things, and I feel like I'm digging deeper down into the valley. I feel like I take one step forward and I take two steps back. But I am praying every day. I am meditating every day. I'm still questioning and asking God why. But one thing that happened is I started speaking about the circumstances that led me there. And for me, it felt like, oh, I'm moving forward because I've accepted the fact that things happen a certain way. They didn't happen according to my plan, but I've accepted that. So because I have accepted that, I feel like, hey, I'm moving forward. I got over it. It is what it is. I'm here. Season three is coming out. I have the opportunity to be a full-time entrepreneur. I'm building my business. So clearly, I am moving along on this journey to purpose. And while all of this is happening, I'm also hitting a brick wall, figuratively. I also feel like there are blocks in front of me. I also look at my circumstances and I'm sitting here like, okay, God, what do you want from me? I stepped out on faith. I have blind faith in you, and I'm doing all the things. I'm walking the walk and I'm talking the talk. So what do you want from me? And I started noticing something. He wanted me to go into rest. Um, oftentimes we hear that we need to grind, we need to hustle, right? The money is in the hustle. We have to grind. We are entrepreneurs. So if you don't kill it, you don't eat it. And so we are in this mindset that we have to go, 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 go. In the meantime, he keeps telling me that I need to rest. And I'm like, okay. So I actually started getting into this book that was recommended a while back to me. And finally, I decided to pick up the book and read it. And the book is called Sacred Rest. And it's an amazing book. And if you're listening to this and something is telling you, if you have been caught up in that grind, that daily grind, if you have, okay, it's not even that, just if there's something telling you right now, for whatever reason it might be, you might be rested, you might not, you might be burned out, you might not. But if you hear something, if you feel like this is a book that you should pick up, do not hesitate. So this book is called Sacred Rest. So I pick up this book, and this book goes into the 7 types of rest that we need. And I start reading the book. And what I love about this book is it's not just, oh my gosh, you need to lay down and you need to sleep. It's so much deeper than that. And it also stems from a biblical standpoint, which I absolutely love. So I pick up this book and I start getting into it. And it starts telling me that I need to be still, I need to rest. And I'm like, okay. But I'm like, I'm trying to build a business here. God, hello, do you hear me? I'm trying to get this. I'm making sure that the podcast is out and it's impactful, and it's I'm on social media promoting it. I'm doing all the, like, how am I supposed to fulfill my purpose and walk along this journey of purpose if I don't do these things? How am my business supposed to thrive and be successful if I don't grind, if I don't hustle, if I'm not out there every day, if I'm not networking and connecting and doing all these things, right? And he's telling me, I need you to rest. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense to me. But okay, fine. I'll follow the breadcrumbs. I'll do it. And I start getting into this book, and I start being intentional about resting. And um and resting can mean so many different things. It doesn't necessarily mean laying down and going to sleep. It is, you have physical rest, you have mental rest, you have spiritual rest. One of the things that one of our guests who came on season 3, Lashana Stoke, spoke about was how we have the tendency at times to hide behind our faith, to hide behind our spirituality. And we fail to realize that we're using it as a shield, and we're not really paying attention to what the message is behind it, right? Sometimes you do need to take rest from your spirituality. Creative rest was another thing that she mentioned. It was, sometimes we may be in positions where day in and day out, what we work in is creativity, and you may not realize this, but sometimes your wires might be crossed. You may think that you need mental rest when you really need creative rest. And there's also such a thing as sensory rest, like, when a lot is coming at your senses. So it's an amazing book. I don't want to give it away, because I really would recommend you guys picking up this book and getting into it for yourself. But I picked up the book, and it was so impactful to me, and I did feel like God was calling me to rest. And there were times when I just said, you know what, I'm not doing this today. And I had to become comfortable with that. I had to become comfortable with God telling me that today is a day where you need to be still, or I need to slow down, or I need to pause. And I was, I got into that mode, into that season, and I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to be intentional about resting, because clearly God is telling me that I need to do that. So that was something that I discovered along my journey. And what was coming out of that was that if I did not pause, if I did not rest, when would God have time to speak to me? When would I have time to hear his voice? When will I have time to connect with him? How am I supposed to continue going along this journey of purpose, and I can't even receive the messages and the blessings from him? I can't hear him speak to me. it's important. Another thing that was mentioned in season 3 was you're not meant to be in every single room. Some rooms you're not meant to be in. But how are you supposed to know that if you're not intentional about pausing and hearing God's voice saying, "Do not go in that room." You can't. You can't. And so that was a really big moment in revelation for me. Another thing was that I felt like in this season in my life where I just kept coming up against brick walls. So a little earlier, I spoke about how two things came up. One was about, you know, the one was about hearing his voice and being able to, I was asking why. And so I was like, I'm asking why and I'm not hearing you say anything. So I felt at times, which is crazy because this platform, I created this platform to make sure that individuals knew that they were not alone. Well, I found myself in a place where I felt completely alone. And I felt like I was failing all the time. It felt like every time I took a step forward, I took 3 steps back. And I'm looking at my circumstances, I'm looking at my environment, and I'm looking at what's around me, and I'm just kind of like, I don't understand. I felt like I checked all the boxes. I did what you asked me for. Why? Why am I still here? And I had a conversation with I even did a reel, and I felt like I could be vulnerable, and I was asking and I was saying how I felt like I was failing. I was failing and I was alone and I didn't know what else to do. And I had a conversation shortly thereafter with my business manager, and she told me something. She said, you know, that there is something right in front of me, something that is blocking me. And first and foremost, how dare I create a platform to tell people and to let them know that they're not alone. And then I turn around and I say, you know what? I feel completely alone. Well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with feeling like you are alone. However, know that you are not alone. And your testimony, your circumstances, or your situation is a light for somebody else. And so um, I do want to say thank you to all of the listeners and insiders who saw that post and who had so much encouraging words and scriptures and verses to send me, because I really truly felt like, okay, I am not alone. Like, you know, whether, you know, it's a negative energy, negative force that had come over me for a minute, but I definitely felt like, Harley, you are not alone, that you all heard me, you saw me, and you made me feel seen, heard, and valued. So I just want to say thank you for all of those insiders who reached out and were able to elevate me in that moment, in that season that I was in. But going back to the conversation that I had with my manager, and she was like, there is something there that you need to uncover. There is something that you need to dig deeper in. And I'm a strong believer that God puts you in situation. In those situations, there's always a purpose, right? Tagline for the pod, there's purpose in your story. And so I was like, okay. And so she sent me a video. um, right after our conversation, and I was watching the video, and what stood out, what resonated and hit me like a ton of bricks was that how I was coming to God. I was coming to God out of a place of desperation. I was coming to him asking him why. And I was praying desperate. I was desperate on my knees asking him, please help me, please help me, please help me. What's going on? Why? And God whispered to me and he said, I need you to pray out of confidence. Do you not believe what I can do? Do you not believe that I am a God of impossible? And I was just so, I heard his voice loud and clear. I was just so awed by the fact that he was like, I need you to pray confidently. And I needed to, I just felt like he was telling me, hey, you are here. You are here for a purpose. And it doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside right now. Because if you pray out of a place of confidence, if you really believe this blind faith that I'm asking you to have, if you really trust me, if you really surrender to it, then watch what I do. And that happened the following day. I kid you not. If this is the first time I'm speaking about it, the following day, I went into my mailbox and I found a check in the mail for $500, just out of the blue. And I'm not saying that but I'm just saying, like, I want you to see that when you are, and we are all children of God and he loves us so much. But when you really truly trust him and surrender to him, not haphazardly, not okay, I'm gonna dip my toe in and that's gonna be it. But when you truly do that, when I was truly able to shift my mindset to walk on this journey with confidence that he's got me, he's got my back. No matter what it looks like, he's got me. And literally the next day, that's what happened. And so I just want to encourage you. Someone might be listening to this and you are in a place of desperation. I know how you feel. You don't know what's coming, when it's coming, how it's going to come. But I want you to shift your mindset, shift your faith, and pray out of a place of confidence. Start thanking him for what is he's already doing, because he is doing something. And you know what happens when a victory is right around the corner? It just means that you're going to be attacked. You're going to feel like, oh my goodness, is this ever going to end? But hang in there. Watch what he does, because he is the God of impossible. And so that was just one testimony out of so many that has transpired over this season. And I was definitely did not see the fact that a lot of this season was for me. um, a lot of these guests and the messages that they had was for me. I think a little bit as I go into the season, I'm so focused on this platform and the voices and the opportunities and the impact that it will have on people, that I think I was in a little bit in the boat of this is for people, and that I was separate from that. But I realized that as this season unfolded and as these guests came and they had messages, that a lot of them was for me as well. And I am so grateful that people like Jaquise were able to come in and speak life into not only insiders but me. That Lashana was able to really speak about how sometimes we hide behind our spirituality. That Angel was able to be vulnerable and courageous, and Poppy, and they were able to share personal stories of grief and how sometimes when we are going through it, we kind of step back from faith. We're like, okay, could this really be it? Like, could this really be, if there's supposed to be a God and I'm doing all the right things and I'm being faithful, he will test you. And unfortunately, sometimes the test, we feel like, this is not it. But they were still able to trust God and surrender to him besides all of that. And I'm so glad that they were vulnerable enough to come on a pod and share those stories. Um, Also, when God is leading you somewhere, when he's telling you, hey, I want you to go there, are you resisting? And that was part of Kai's story. She was like, listen, I'm not going to sit here and suffer the consequences of disobedience. So God is telling us that we need to move. We're moving. We're going. And I feel like, especially me, I know I can be very, very stubborn at times. And I could hear God or feel like God is leading me a certain way, and I could be resisting. I am that kid. It's his fault. He created me that way, but I am that kid, um and I have to make sure that I do better. That if I hear him leading me somewhere, well, he has a plan, and his plan is so much bigger than me. It's so much bigger than what I could possibly imagine. And so another thing too that I had to learn was obedience in this season. Is, am I being obedient? Am I being the cause of why I'm going through this situation because I'm being disobedient? That's a major thing. That is a big, big, big message that I want to talk about, because oftentimes the fear is holding, I know for me, the fear holds me back. Well, how? How is this going to work out? Well, if I go there, will it make it worse? Or you want to control the circumstance, right? Well, if I do this, then I know I can make it better. If I do that, then I know I can put a band-aid on it, but that's what you're doing. You're just putting a band-aid on it. Are you really being obedient and listening to what God is saying? And that could be sometimes while we're in the fire a little bit longer than we need to be because we're not being obedient. And he's like, okay, you haven't learned yet. And God knows I am a stubborn one. And so that was another lesson that I had to learn during this season as I'm going through the season of blind faith, is obedience and knowing when to go and when you're not supposed to be in the room. And so listening to God and asking him for discernment and wisdom, that was another thing that I learned. Another lesson that I also had to learn was healing. And I'm still in a process of that. I'm still in a process of healing, of walking on that journey, because it's healing. It's me having to heal in several different ways, not just mentally, but spiritually, and healing from the shame and the guilt that I have felt and that I have a tendency to hold on to when things happen, especially when it's my fault. And so I have some work to do when it comes to that. And I was able to recognize that during the season, hearing about, sometimes as we are being disobedient, certain situations or things happen around us, which causes a domino effect. And at the end, we are looking at it like, oh my goodness, if I had done this different, or if I had done this, then I wouldn't be in this situation. But I've also learned through that healing journey that this God is so in love with me. He loves me so much that I can't heal if I don't let go of that shame and that guilt. And He has already given me grace, He has already given me mercy. And there's no cap. There's no cap on His grace, there's no cap on His mercy. And He will continue to give it to me. And so I need to learn how to let go of that shame, let go of that guilt, and accept His grace and mercy freely, accept His love for me that has no boundaries. And that was actually one of the most recent discoveries that I had along this journey. And I'm so glad to say that I'm learning how to do that. And there's going to be situations where I might slide, I might backtrack, I might stumble, but holding on to that, holding on to His mercy, holding on to His grace, and knowing that it has no limit is what helps me get through it. And I'm still learning. I'm still a couple of years ago, I always pick something to kind of focus on for the year. And a couple of years ago, that was trusting and surrendering to God. And I kind of, maybe in a little way, I kind of felt like at the end of the year, okay, I've mastered it. No, 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 no. I'm still learning how to trust and surrender in every situation. You may handle it well in one situation, and then another situation that might come that's a little bit different. Well, you may not handle it as well. But it's continuing to open yourself up to the wisdom of God, to discernment, to learning to let go of that control and really trusting Him and surrendering to Him. And learning from my own tagline, which is there's purpose in your story. I feel like really this season it really it hit home for me, that tagline, because there is a lot that has happened over the past 6 months that I'm not quite sure I know the purpose of it, or that I've seen the purpose of those situations. But I have faith that no matter what, there is a purpose in every story, in every situation, in every experience that I've had, that there's a purpose in there. Whether I know it or not, there is. And I really feel like this past season, that really tested me. And also understanding that there are many lessons within blind faith. There's many different functions of blind faith that I need to hone in on, that I need to work on. It's not just the faith part. It's not just the prayer part. It's also the resting. It's also trusting. It's also surrendering. It's also releasing. There's many different functions and compartments of blind faith that I'm still learning, that I'm still working on. And this has just been such an impactful season for me. And what I just spoke about, is just a drop in a bucket of all the things that have hit home for me as I've listened, as I've gone back and listened to all of the episodes of season 3 of Purpose and Faith. I hope that it has been just as impactful to you as it has been for me. This was probably one of the most challenging seasons that I have put together so far. And I think that I definitely think that this is going to stay with me forever. it is. And I am so, so, so grateful for all of you, the insiders, that have come along this journey with me since the beginning. One of the individuals that have started, one of those individuals that started listening to me from the beginning, actually ended up in the middle of the season or the beginning of the season, reaching out and saying, hey, I see you, Harley. I have been following you for a long time, and I just want to let you know that I see you. And that is probably one of the best gifts I could ever receive, is having you all insiders come along this journey with me, and and continuing to come on that journey with me. That is one of the greatest gifts. And so I just want to express my sincere gratitude for each and every one of you. I thank you so much for hanging in there with me as I stumbled, as I ran, as I, just walked on this journey. You guys have been there with me, and I thank you so much for that. I'm already, we've already kind of thought about what season 4 is going to be like and what is coming around the corner. And of course, I am super excited to continue to bring you this platform. I am honored that you all are able to come along this journey with me and walk in this purpose work that I'm doing. So I'm so grateful for that. And I also want to thank ATL Forever Media for coming along and putting all of this to fruition, to be able to bring you the podcast episodes, the reels, the snippets. I just want to thank ATL Forever Media for that. I want to thank my business manager, Supermodel 360, for just bringing my purpose to reality. I want to thank her for that. My journey partner, my makeup artist, Kamari Jones, my hairstylist who's been with me for 20 something years. I want to thank all of the production crew, Jasmine, The Great Escape, Nicholas Gardner, everyone, for making season 3 possible. My sister circle, who has been instrumental, that community that has been surrounding me. There's always someone popping up at the right time to say the right thing, the right inspiration, the right words. And I just want to thank you all, ladies, for being in my life, whether we talk every day or we don't. But I know that you are here surrounding me. And then, of course, my family. But I thank you, everyone. I thank you, insiders, for season 3. And I'm very excited about what's coming next. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for hanging in there with me, and for season 3 and everything that you have taught me through your testimonies, through your persistence of just encouraging me and inspiring me. So that is how we are going to close out season 3 of the Purpose and Faith series. I'm excited for season 4. We are going to take a break, and so season 4 will not happen until 2025. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but till 2025. But I am so excited about what's going to happen. And of course, the pod is not going anywhere. Stay tuned, because we do have some amazing things that are coming at the end of the year. So thank you so much. And I sign off by saying what I always say: there's purpose in your story. I hope you enjoyed our show today. Keep the conversation going. Leave a comment and share with your friends. We would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, there's purpose in your story.